Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fourth Virtual Community Forum in Tampa Bay. I'm Dr. Morency. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to be your host. Once again, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone. All of you have been listening and participating online to the success of the show. And we really appreciate. Now, while the show this afternoon is in progress, you can still share with your friends so we can have a lot of attendance, a lot of participation. Don't forget the forum is sponsored and supported by Jean-René Rainville Studio. So today we have a great program for you. We're going to discuss the impact of the coronavirus on our mental health. And including in the discussion will be ways and measures in this emotional turmoil. Now, this week has been a very stressful week. I mean, it's quite an unusual week for us. The United States has reached surpassed a grim milestone in our country here. It has passed 100,000 deaths. To be precise, as of today, it's about 104,500 deaths with 1.7 million confirmed cases. This is the highest number of cases around the world. Here in Florida, in spite of the fact that there has been some decrease in the confirmed number, but in the rate of increase, we're still at 54,000 confirmed cases and 2.4 thousand deaths. On the job front, because of the ravage of the coronavirus, 41 million people out of job and are still fighting to get unemployment benefit. And it turned out to be another tremendous crisis this week because in the middle of the week, we have witnessed on national TV this gruesome murder of George Floyd, an innocent black man, by a police officer in Minnesota. This is in terms of stressful event. I'm usually another one who be going to be shocked, but this was too much. The police officer knee on George's neck for about 8.5 minutes, just suffocating this guy to death. Obviously, there's no question about it. This is a criminal issue. Okay? And we certainly hope that justice will be done. Now, all we can do at this point is offer sincere sympathy to them. And we also understand the grief and the pain and the frustration our brothers and sisters in the African American community is feeling. And hopefully, we'd like the investigation to continue to find out what happened in the aftermath. Because there's lots of protests and looting around Minnesota. And from what I heard today, that some of the looters were not African American. So I'm waiting for an investigation. This is a great subject. We're not going to address it today, but we're certainly going to talk about how to cope with frustrations and pain and anxiety. So we'll have the disparity with another show. Now, I don't know about you folks. For me, none of this is normal. This is not a normal state of affair. All right. We are going through some dark time in this country, and we cannot normalize the fact that in excess of 2,000 deaths is occurring in the United States on the average every day. That is not normal. So we are essentially, and that's declared. We are not only at war against this virus, we've been for the past, but let's face it, we are also at war with ourselves. We are a divided country, and then whenever you have a divided country, it is hard to win anything unless you can mobilize the entire country as one unit, or unless you can actually provide the necessary for the folks to win the war. While this virus is pretty tough still, we, the survivor, we are in grief. We are in mourning. Some of us are hard to deal with the virus. Some of us are still in denial, part of the fact. And we happen to face this important, uncertain future in the middle of an election year. But please listen to me. As bleak as this situation, there is hope. There is hope. There's things that we can do. And from the virus point of view, coronavirus point of view, after looking at the behavior of this virus for the past couple of months, there is now a consensus by the experts to pick and choose its casualty. You know, we know that not everybody will be having symptoms by this virus. It's only a certain segment of the population, the older folks, and particularly anybody with underlying chronic disease. Those are the people really most at risk for the virus. So even when we catalog the effect of the virus for the past 3 months, still over 80% of people have survived and survived well. So it turned out that we, in response, have to get back together if we really want to control this virus. And I think we can beat this. As a society, we can beat it. As an individual, we can beat it. In the meantime, for the past couple months, as the virus has spread and spread, what can we do to mitigate this disruption in our life? How do we cope? How do we go on with our life? So today, we are very fortunate to have with us 2 young, great professionals as guests. They've been in the front line of this virus in one form or the other. And in addition, they've been going around the community, educating people, as well as providing comfort during this difficult time. So I'm going to introduce to you my guests today. First, we have Emmanuela Pierre-Charles. She's a nurse practitioner working currently at the VA. She's an young immigrant of Haiti, and she came here on a mission. First, she got her associate degree in science of nursing at Hillsborough Community College. Then she proceeded to obtain her bachelor in science and master degree in science here at the University of South Florida in nursing. And she's also a founder of an organization called KEYS. This is an organization that helps Haitian immigrants acculturate in the U.S. Emmanuela, welcome. Our second guest is Pastor McKinley Lundy. He's also from Haiti, and he has a bachelor in art and theology from Adventist University of Haiti. He also has a master's degree of divinity and clinical mental health counseling at Andrews University. He has had 9 years of experience in pastoral ministry. He worked as a senior pastor in the Southern Conference in Haiti. He's also the founder and president of Youth Matters Ministry, a youth organization that serves at-risk kids in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Pastor, welcome. So it is my pleasure to welcome both of you.
Okay.
Now, let's discuss specifically. So you guys, I heard you've been out there facing work, in your case, you pastor counseling. Angela, you've been at the front line dealing with COVID and meet with a lot of your colleagues and peers. So tell me, how do you feel about this virus? How have you been coping? Let me start with you, Emanuela.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Moensi, for inviting us to this great show. Um, Pretty much, I'm doing very well, and that is why we want to make sure that the community, we want to know how the community is doing, and then to see how we can offer them advice on
Mhm.
how they can better cope with this, because we know this too shall pass, and we know in the culture there's a lot of panic, anxiety, and depression going on. So we want to make sure that the community, we can give them advice and help them be able to better cope with this. So that is why we're here, and we've done a few sessions with our churches and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
we we expanding it to the community and see how I've worked with Pastor McKinley before, and we've done a session on mental health and sexuality. So with COVID, so that's why we're trying to expand it and see how we can bring our service to the Haitian community.
Thank
That's pretty
you.
much it.
So, Pastor, how about you? How have you been feeling? And how do people you met, people you deal with, how have they been feeling? What's going on with what's the impact on
Uh,
COVID?
well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure always to provide information, educate our people when it comes to mental health. So far, I say for me, it's been pretty good. No one in my family been affected by the COVID-19, but I would say that mentally, you feel the pressure, the stress, the anxiety. A lot of people, they don't know how to cope. They don't know how to go through that stage of COVID-19. So far, I've been able to educate them and provide them resources, helping them to cope with that COVID-19. And we see a lot of problem coming out of the COVID-19, which is anxiety, stress, depression that come out those COVID-19. And we hope that we can better help in this community to know how to go through this stage. So far, it's been great a great program. Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Certainly, there's been variety of response. When it comes to stress, the our perceptions, our feeling about the event, the stressor, so to speak,
Mhm.
gonna be
Mhm.
subjective. Everybody's gonna have different reactions.
Mhm.
Um, you know, right now you have a majority of people who have to, especially the people in the front line, nurses and doctors in the emergency room, the front line, who have to deal with this stuff. And we've heard
Mhm.
some of the things that happened to them. They are certainly grieving for their colleagues who have either got sick. Some
Mhm.
of them have got sick themselves. They are worried about infecting, bringing the virus to their family. So everybody has a different way of coping based on what you do.
Mhm.
For me particularly, my reaction has been, I'm lucky in the sense that I had just retired, okay, about 2 years ago, and I've been out there really doing radio shows and lectures and stuff. But the virus, the coming of the virus impacted me different because I understand as a public health officer and a guy who's been involved in the primary care setting, I know exactly what a pandemic is. This is not the first pandemic we've had. We had a lot of
Mhm.
and so my reaction has been, well, it, my first reaction was actually anger, not necessarily anger at the virus because I know that's coming, but the anger at the response. And anger how slow we were to actually provide the necessary tools, public health tool to deal with the virus. So that's why I went immediately in my program, my radio show on March 11. I started. just telling people, educating people, because that's I feel
Mhm.
that people should know, people should be aware of things like that.
Mhm.
Now I know you both work currently. You are working, right? You have. So
Mhm.
what's the reaction you've been feeling from your peers, your colleagues? Is this along the same line of what everybody else is feeling? You know, fear and confusions, things like this.
I know for me, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. At the beginning, everybody was scared because we didn't have enough, of course, PPEs and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
supplies that was necessary for us to be able to provide care, for our patients. But at the same time, we were also worried about our families. Like, how do we not take this to our families? How
Mm-hmm.
do we protect ourselves when we don't have the proper equipment?
Mhm.
So some of us, like, we pretty much figure out ways, because the thing is, when you really think about it, there's nothing else we can do, because we still have to work, we still have to come to work. So we just started to figure out, like, what is the best way. So you find ways to protect yourself. Make sure that when you get home, you undress in your garage, and
Mhm.
you make sure that, like, for me, I make sure, like, my kids, they stay away from me until I shower. And I make sure
Wow.
that
Mhm.
if I have a choice, cover
Mm-hmm.
my hair, like, cover my face. Like, I was, doing everything that I could to protect myself, not
Yes.
because of me, but for my kids. Because
Mm-hmm.
it is like, I would feel really bad to, bring this. And the worst part was, you meet a lot of people that are asymptomatic. You don't know who has it and who doesn't.
Mhm.
And you come in
Correct.
contact with them every day.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it wasn't really fear. It was more like the unknown. How do I protect my
Mhm.
family and still provide quality care to patients? Because but we had to find different ways. We had to wear a mask, and I said, okay, the more I'm covered, the better I am. But was it really the truth? Because nobody
Sure.
knows how this virus is,
Mhm.
transmitted. Really, some people say it's contact. Then they come
Mhm.
out, they say droplet. Then they come out and say um,
Mhm.
airborne. Like, nobody really knows. So I was taking my own measures and
Mm-hmm.
find ways to make sure that I didn't bring
Mhm.
it to my family. But
Mhm.
I mean, so far
Okay.
we've been doing well. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
doing well, thank God. How about you, Pastor?
uh,
Have you counseled a lot of folks about this?
uh,
And
m- Me, I work a lot with family and children with behavioral problem, and so far it's been very challenging for a lot of family having the kids home, and then
sure.
because school are closing and they never used to have the kids stay at home for a long period. They have to manage work. They have to also be there, be a teacher, be a mom, and as well people try to help them with the assignment. So
Hmm.
it's been a lot of challenging for a lot of family, and I see a lot of anxiety level. I don't know what will happen next. Will I be able to still have a job tomorrow? Will I be able to get maybe to be able to provide for my family? And I also see a lot of people dealing with insomnia. They have a hard time to fall asleep because they don't know what's going on, and they keep thinking, overthinking about that virus. What will happen next? What will happen tomorrow? What will happen next month? And the fact that every state have their own policy, that also add more pressure and more problem, because you don't know, when the shutdown will stop, when things gonna get back to normal. Nobody knows. And as Sister Manuela said, the fear of the unknown is so big, and that
Hmm.
causes them feel like very stressed, feel very pressure about what will happen next. As I say, there's a lot of withdrawal from friends and family. I used to see my friends. I used to connect with them. Now I no longer be able to talk to them because of
Hmm.
that, because of the COVID-19. So far, we
I,
know that we are social creatures. We have to make sure that we connect to people. All those kind of stuff that cause that kind of, I see it with people that I'm working with.
well, yeah, it's certainly a challenge because what I
Mm-hmm.
remember from the beginning of the virus is the fact that most of the public health expert, infectious
Mm-hmm.
disease expert, including Dr. Fauci, basically stated that. Well, the virus is new, so we are uncharted territory. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we are learning, but there's still more to learn. And you could see
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning of the first time I had a show, we were talking about essentially the symptoms of cough, a dry cough, fever, and then shortness of breath. But by now, realize there's more. I mean, there's a whole manifestations, and the virus
Mm-hmm.
itself manifests in everybody differently, depending on your risk category, whether you're a young
Mm-hmm.
person, an older person, or with chronic disease. And the
Mm-hmm.
most dangerous thing to me about this virus is the mode of transmission is still not clear. There's
Mm-hmm.
still some new information that are coming out, and that has the effect of increasing the certainty of what's going to happen. So, and as human beings, we don't deal with uncertainty very well. Okay, so my response has been evolving as we learn more information. Now, the question I want to ask you, since you were out there doing community educations, are there anything? Is what you just told me now? You know how you protect yourself. Is this basically part of what you have told your audience? What exactly have you basically been telling those folks in your program, in your show that you did? In term, with the information about COVID-19, and I also want to know, how do they respond? Do you feel that the message you've been providing was getting through to people? Just tell me your experience. Emma, can you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that we were faced with, believe it or not, it was there was a lot of fear between partners, um, especially partners that has like a significant other working in the healthcare field. They were really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
afraid, to get close to them because they didn't want to get sick. But
Hmm.
that was one of the things that they struggled with, especially in the Haitian community. We didn't know that it was, like we all find ways to cope, but people were really scared. They were really scared to touch their significant other because they think that they're just gonna get it.
That's
So
interesting.
what we were
Mm-hmm.
trying to say, it's like we were looking at it on an individualized case. For
Okay.
example, if you have a family that's really sick, you know that you have to take measures to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they are immunocompromised and stuff like that, you know that there are ways to take care, to care for them. But at the same time, one thing that like we said, I mentioned in the show, that's your support system. How can you just like go away from your support system as a
Mm-hmm.
healthcare provider? Because when you come home, you will need that your husband, you will need your wife,
Mm-hmm.
and how can we take measures to be there for them and also protect them? So, and
Yeah.
it was like one of those situations, and we had to really like talk about it and see how we can really make people understand. It's like depending on your relationship, with your partner, and also if you need like, if it's really affecting you like that, you probably will need, seek counseling from a professional, because believe it or not, it is a problem. It's creating a lot of anxiety, panic, and depression.
Well, this is, yeah, this is very important because we're all afraid to some degree or other. And if you have a spouse who actually one of the first line workers, of course you're gonna be worried about them bringing the infection
Mm-hmm.
in the house and affect your own survival. So that's understandable. But you're right. The point is, people have to communicate a little bit and have to express our grief, our fear, so we are on the same page. We understand. This is a time where we really need support from our loved one, not necessarily staying away. Uh, but you're right, Emmanuel, about this point. But however, uh, even though I think they found the coronavirus in the semen of people, but nobody has declared this so far a sexually transmitted disease. So I think we need
Mm-hmm.
some more information about this. And as
Mm-hmm.
it turned out, now we're finding the virus in sewer system, in all kind of place that we had not really think about before. So there's a lot. There's still a lot we don't know about this. So, Pastor Lundy, what about your patients, your people you're counseling? Do they get the message? Do people are on denials, or are they? Because sometimes denial is a response too. But what happens, the longer you're in denial, the less effective you are to protect yourself, because you don't. And we see that displaying on the national level.
That's true. And you know what? At first, people think that was some kind of conspiracy theory. Like, they believe, like, that's something like maybe the government tried to scare people, and they don't actually believe. But when they start seeing people kind of the death toll just go rise up so quickly, and they suddenly be like, oh man, this is very seriously. And now they have to find a way to say what I'm going to do. And so far, what I see that idea, like, that denial. So it's not gonna happen to me. You know what, I can do whatever I want to do, or maybe I'm not gonna cover my face, I'm not gonna wash my hands. It's just the same old. There's nothing gonna happen. But one thing I feel so we need to do as a community, try to see the importance of that virus and try to protect themselves and their loved one to not getting that virus. So far, what I just see that, I see fear, I also see anxiety, but I also see that cognitive distortion. That means that, hey, it's not gonna happen to me. That means I'm perfect, or maybe I'm healthy. You know what? I can go out there for max, for any protection. I'm still gonna be okay. So far, I think so people need to understand the gravity of the action, the importance for them to protect themselves for not getting that virus to anybody else.
I couldn't agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think this has been one of the problems to me as a physician with the response. When you're faced with a pandemic of this dimension, thing that most people haven't seen all in their lifetime. Okay, you hear about this in history. And then you have a society that is divided, okay, where the experts are saying one thing and your political leaders are saying something else. That creates actually a lot of confusion, because people don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
And the more uncertainty, the more fear, and those things, if they're not addressed properly or immediately, urgently, that's going to create a lot of psychological conflict or emotional disruption, so to speak. Now, I see we are really moving right on time here. So what I'm going to do is, in the second half, we're going to take a short break. And in the second half, we're going to specifically talk about the chronic stress, the anxiety, and how, for in the average people, not somebody with underlying who have some serious illness, but in the average people, how they can cope, some ways you can cope. With them. All right, so we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Pastor McKinley and Emmanuel Apia-Shaw.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Morency, and we have online with us Emmanuel Apia-Shaw, the Pastor McKinley Lundy, who we are discussing the impact of the coronavirus on our mental health.
Yep.
So we've been talking about essentially the different manifestations of the response, going from fear, confusions, disruption in our social life, and some folks even with manifestation with anxiety and depressions. And certainly we were aware of one famous case as Dr. Lorna, who was the emergency room in New York, actually committed suicide. And when we talk about stress, there are ways we can cope with the stress before it actually a problem, either chronic
Mm-hmm.
or, God forbid, suicide. So,
Mm-hmm.
Pastor, in your way of dealing with this, what do you counsel? How do you counsel those? How do you really reassure somebody? How do you ease their fear? How do you prevent them actually from progressing from stress to actually disease? How do you counsel?
Okay. Okay. First of
I,
all, as a
I
counselor,
don't know. Mhm.
okay. Now, when I met with my clients, the first thing I'm trying to do to try to understand the problem. Now,
Okay.
what is the problem? What is going on? How do you what is the problem? And so when they present me with the problem and I try to find and are they been dealing with that problem in the past? Is there any way they've been trying to deal with that problem? And when they try to tell me the way they've been dealing with that problem, and I try to implement a treatment plan so I can
Hmm.
help them to cope with the problem. For instance, one of the techniques I use is called cognitive behavioral therapy, which is for like how you
Sure.
think affect our feeling, affect our behavior. But some people, the fact that they don't have that right mindset, they don't think positively, and that also create distress, that also create anxiety problem. For instance, there's a difference between fact and opinion. People say that, you know what, oh, I can get coronavirus to just maybe having sex, but they don't have the fact. So far, I try to help them to identify what is a fact, what is opinion. The fact that not everybody, not everything somebody say is a fact. It
Sure.
has to be
Sure. Sure.
research based. Maybe people do it over scientific, goes the scientific process and been documented. Say, okay, that's truly a fact. Even that, there's still ongoing research regarding the COVID-19. And I also use the dialectical behavioral therapy, which is another technique helping people dealing with self harm. Because you know what, COVID-19 can cause people to feel like some have a suicidal ideation. So the idea of
Sure.
mindfulness, being there in the moment, try to embrace your present, try to
Okay.
be there for your kids, be intentionally, not try to say, okay, I'm there, but be intentionally present and try to understand your environment. And one of the things about mindfulness, he helped the person to identify what is an emotional mind, what is a wise mind, and what is a what is a rational mind. But some people right now, because of the COVID-19, they stay on the emotional mindset. Oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to, oh, this thing's going to get bad, get bad. But sometimes the wise might help them to make the balance. I can be still on try to find a way to stay in the middle path between emotional mindset and rational mindset. All things are not black and white, but things
Sure.
can
Sure.
be
Sure.
we need to know how to make the balance. So far, those are the things I've been using with people dealing with anxiety, depression, and it's been so far been very helpful because I help them just to stay focused in the moment, to embrace the present, and not try to change things they cannot control. Because, for instance, you know what? I cannot let the sun, you know what? Hey, I cannot tell the sun, oh, you're not going to rise today. I cannot control when this is gonna rise or gonna go up and down. But I can control myself. I can control my own behavior. I can control how I'm gonna react to the problem. So far, I'm trying to challenge the cognitive belief, the what they believe about that virus. Is that rational or irrational? And change the
Sure.
irrational belief
Sure.
system into something to more rational. And so far, those are the techniques
Sure.
I've been using with my clients.
Okay. Okay. Well, the problem is one of the problem is really information, and
Mhm.
there's been lot of misinformations,
Mhm.
conspiracy theory. Because again, we're not talking with the same language. People in
Sure.
power. Whether it's professional, scientists or politicians. They're just having the different agenda, and so it makes that task really difficult. Okay, but certainly people there are access to really legitimate information. You can go on people can go on the CDC website. They can go on the World Health Organization website. They can go on NIH. You'll see the information that we all use, obviously. So if they can trust somebody to explain some of this, because funny. Let me give you a personal case. I have a guy who actually works for in our house, and he comes and do some landscaping for us, and he would not, and I talked to him. I said, man, this is really dangerous, and not only you it may affect you, but it's going to affect other folks as well. And he said, but it's not necessary, because he's getting one set of message. So we had to sit down and talk to him. And they said, listen, I'm a physician, that's what I do, and this is where I get. This is what the story is. This is a communicable disease, contagious disease, and it's transmitted from one person to the next. So if you sneeze, you cough, any people around you can do this. So when you wear a face mask, you actually not only helping yourself a little bit, but you also prevent the transmission of this. You prevent your family. Your mother was 90 years old from getting this. So he actually got the point. So information is really, really very important.
It's very important. Yep.
Let me just get some clarification from you. When you talk mindfulness, okay?
Yeah.
What does that mean to the average person? I mean, because that may be, people may not understand what that is.
Okay.
They hear the term, but they may not know what it is. So,
that's true. You know what? And I think so. There's a lot of problem. People think so. When you talk about mindfulness, we talk about Western meditation, because the mindfulness, being mindful, is like that self-awareness, being present, being there. Exactly. Because not try to go all over the place, but to stay focused in the moment. Because right now, people try to know what will happen in the future, what happened in the past. No, we're not dealing with what will happen tomorrow. We're not trying to deal with what will happen in the past. Try to deal with the present moment. And one of the things I use is deep breathing. Because try to understand how you you inhale and exhale. Try to use that. Try to kind of go up and down. That's what mindfulness is about. Mindfulness is about being there, being present, and develop that self-awareness. Because when you're not being mindful, you lose focus. When you're not being mindful, you distracted. You get all over the place. But when you try to be mindful, you take it. Right now, I'm going to do one thing at a time. Because when people try to say, okay, I'm going to do this, and all over the place, that's when they're not being mindful. And that causes stress, that causes anxiety. And this is all about mindfulness. Being mindful, being there, being present.
Okay, very good. Very, very, very good. Because, using cognitive behavior therapy, meaning that when you have an emotion, whether it's anger or fear, there's always a thought behind
That's right.
it. And most people, when the thought comes, they believe the thought. They don't challenge it.
They don't. Yeah.
And that thought would lead to a certain behavior and certain feeling.
Right.
Actually, can make the emotion intensify. Now, from a primary care point of view, this is the way I have counsel and advise folks. There are things really tangible, concrete, you can do just with your body, just with the physically, okay? Because what happens is when we face with a major disaster like this, that elicits what we call the stress reaction. Okay, so any kind of major event, trauma, disaster such as this, the body gonna react automatically. That's what stress reaction is. That's what we call the fight or flight, and we all gonna go through that. Okay. Now, what happened is immediately, the brain gonna react, gonna produce some chemicals, adrenaline from the central nervous system, and so you're gonna have your heart rate gonna goes up. You're gonna all of a sudden you're breathing fast, your blood pressure goes up, you are
Mm-hmm.
ready to fight. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a normal reaction.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what happened in a pandemic like this, it is not one event.
Mm-hmm.
It is a daily. The virus does more than produce a little stress reaction because
Mm-hmm.
every day there's something new. Now people have to changing in their lifestyle, changing in structure, lose their job. Okay, we can see the crisis in the medical response in terms of lack of ventilator, lack of PPE.
Mm-hmm.
All those things are constantly, and some people actually are fixated. They're watching the numbers every day, get themselves all straight out. In that case, the stress reaction the
Mm-hmm.
body produces that's supposed to help us
Mm-hmm.
cannot help us. It cannot last that long.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we do specific thing, we're going to end up with a lot of side effects, a lot of disease. People get depressed, apathy, anxiety. They cannot sleep. They overeat. They crave sugar. All those things happen. So what can people do physically? My
Mm-hmm.
recommendation is very simple. It's something that I'm telling folks, all of you can do. The first thing you do, first of all, just keep in mind that this is a pandemic. Every place in the world is affected. Every majority, what, 215 countries. So this affects a lot of folks. Okay, so we all in this. We're all suffering this to one degree or the other. Okay, so it's nobody's fault. This thing happened. It's a war, and we have to mobilize our resources. So things that you haven't been doing in the
Mm-hmm.
past to protect yourself, let's try them. Okay, number one, protect your protect your breath, your breathing. Breathing is
Mm-hmm.
very important because the lung is also
Mm-hmm.
a immune system organ as well as where the vital energy come from, right? Oxygen. Without oxygen, you don't have concentration of oxygen. You're confused. You're liable to pass out. People hyperventilate. Some people hold their breath. You
Mm-hmm.
become conscious. Please become conscious of your breath. Take deliberate, deep breath
Mm-hmm.
instead of those shallow breath. Okay, and if you do that, you're gonna be able to stabilize this. There's a simple exercise I've been teaching folks to do. I didn't create it. Dr. Andrew Weil come up with it in his book. It's called 478 breathing exercise. Basically, you
Mm-hmm.
take a deep breath in, and you for 4 seconds. Take the breath in, and then you hold it for 7 seconds, and then
Mm-hmm.
you exhale for 8 seconds. So you take a deep
Mm-hmm.
breath in, you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you exhale it for 8 seconds. That itself, you do it. It takes about 30 seconds to go to the
Mm-hmm.
cycle. And more time. That's about four. It takes about a minute to do, and you can do it anytime. You do it in the morning. You do two series of it, okay? And then during the day, if you feel a little stress, if you think, control your breath, okay? Because that's important. The second thing is, as a physician, in the medical, everybody in the field know the value of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, exercise is actually better than most medication prescribed.
Mm-hmm.
Every medication, blockers and diabetic medication, even some of those pills that we prescribe for anxiety and depression. This has been research proven. So
Yep.
you don't have to be involved in any kind of vigorous exercise. No, mild to moderate exercise is enough. You do 30 minutes of a walk, okay? And you cannot do it all in one day. Do it twice a day. Do 15. So the public health recommendation is just about if you can do 30 minutes for 5 days, okay, in a week, that's about 150 minutes a week. That's a basic requirement for exercise, and that has a lot of effect. It
Mm-hmm.
improves your mood, your blood pressure stabilize, your mind clearer. You can sleep better. So it's really good for a lot of things. Now you don't have to do walking. You can dance. You can be creative. You can swim if you have access to this. Uh, anything, anything, fidget. Move. You gotta move that body. Okay. And now we're recommending that as we coming out of the lockdown, People actually need to be out there and experience the
Yes.
sun. Okay, take a walk in the park. Put your mask on, go take a walk in the park. Those are very powerful, just as hand washing is very powerful in spreading and getting yourself infected. But over time, in the past, when everything is normal, we don't do those things. But this is the time for it. The third thing that's important, because I have to leave some time here for some questions. The third thing that we all can do is actually get a good night's sleep. That's a major problem in
Sure.
this country.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
it's a good night's sleep because the sun is coming down. It's getting dark. Your hormone changes, melatonin level goes up. It tells you on your phone. You you actually miss the first stage of sleep, which is the most important. And this is a stage that happens early in the cycle. So if you go to bed around 10 o'clock, between 10 and 12, if you can get some sleep, you go actually in the deep sleep, the stage 4 sleep, where the body recover, the brain regenerates itself, your immune system improves, and things like that. As opposed to if you go to bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because when you do that, you went to REM sleep and you wake up, you feel like you've been attacked by dogs and lions, so to speak. Okay, so all those simple. Number 4, nutrition. The same food that help increase your immune system are the same food actually that's gonna give you proper energy. I cannot list all the food for you, but let's put a category. If you can afford to have fruits and vegetables, especially citrus food that increase in vitamins and supplement that provide those things. Avoid excess sugar. Excess sugar is absolutely destructive because your insulin's all over the place, and most people indulge end up with obesity and type 2 diabetes, which are major risk factors for this. Okay, so all those things really help. And the other thing you guys talk about, what I'm going to reiterate, is connect. This is the time to connect with your friend, to connect with your family, okay? To people who actually can listen, even in medical endeavor. The first thing is to be able to listen to somebody. Okay, you listen to their complaint, you legitimize their complaint. Okay, say, well, we all in this together, and we understand your feeling. Everybody feel the same way. You just give them to feel the way they feel, and then you can proceed. Okay, you don't necessarily have to give. Sometimes you can ask them what can they do for themselves. Certainly, I'm telling you, if you have a great friend you talk to once a month, but this is the time where if you can talk once a week because the person make you feel better, very good. This is the time to connect with your family. Okay, now with technology, you all can stay home instead of being stressed and distressed because we're locked in. Well, go on Zoom, go on Skype. Listen, this is for me, it's great change. This is the benefit of this stuff because right now I have to get dressed and then drive a car 100 million miles and then my kids actually started. I have 2 girls. Okay, they just started communicating on a regular basis with Zoom, where we didn't do that before. So there's a lot of things you can do with the connections that will actually make you feel better. You mentioned mindfulness. Okay, yeah. If you are lucky in on a daily basis, okay. On the other hand, Pastor, you can agree with me there. If you have had the habit of praying, this is the time to pray, right?
Sure.
And if you can pray, you don't have to wait on a particular day to pray. You can pray every day and be sincere. All those things then go. I'm a musician, so I can tell you the value of music. Okay, not only listening to music, there's certain music I have for stress, right? Do you have that experience yourself? Music is a great tool, okay, because it's energy, it's vibration. You put the right vibration in, all of a sudden you are in a mindset. Going out on the beach, see water, see the natural things. So those things are not, they don't require a prescription, and they are so personal. Okay, so this is some of the recommendation I would definitely make from a primary care point of view, without even prescribed medication. Now, a word of caution though: anybody who actually is sick enough to have suicidal thoughts, or they have anxiety in such a point they cannot function, they need to see they need to see a provider. They need to see the doctor. Okay, because at this point we don't want anybody with suicidal thought to be neglected. But for the average folks now that going through this, you don't have to really be pinned at that level. Anything you guys want to add before we close? In terms of
I think for
response
me,
and comment?
what I can say is that, just like you mentioned, there's so much we can do. For example, I mean, for me, I love to know stuff. I love to learn new things. So if anybody didn't know, there's so many universities right now that are giving free classes. Believe it or not, if you always wanted to go to Harvard, Yale, whatever, they offering a few classes. And I think there's Troy yesterday, I heard that's offering like leadership classes. So learn a new language, find a new task, connect with your kids, your family. If you have I don't know, learn a new instrument, find your happy place. What used to make you happy? Because sometimes we just like sit there and just like feel sorry for ourselves and get so depressed. There's so much we can do in this time to help us to help ourselves cope with this. It's just we just gotta use our minds and use our resources, because now everybody, well, I'm not gonna say every single person, but most of us have a smartphone. Like for me, I decided to take new classes. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting class. You can take class about leadership, learn how to be a leader. Another thing, financial classes, learn how to save money, learn how to use your resources responsibly, learn how to better connect with your kids, find out like how you can increase your kids' knowledge by signing up for free courses online for your kids. And there's so much we can do. We just have to use our resources and to
Good.
find ways to cope with this, because there are things out there. For me, I mean, as a, I guess, healthcare worker, I don't, even though this is going on, I still don't have the time, but I still find ways to like enroll in classes. I'm like, oh, that's a good leadership class. You know, oh, that's a good way to save money. So I always try to make myself better and my family better, because,
Good.
you know, at the end of the day, we have to make ourselves like, you know, we are the owner of this body, of this mind. Just like you mentioned before, if you wanted to get connected with God and you never had the chance, this is your chance. Read the Bible. There are several churches that are doing programs every night. Just connect to one. I mean, it's not about religion, but find ways, like whatever you believe in, connect to that in that moment. And trust me, it
Yes.
would help you tremendously. And one thing that I don't want people to forget, even though they're reopening everything, that doesn't mean we are safe. We have to continue to be mindful about wearing our mask when we go in public, and making sure when we get home, wash your hands, take a shower if you have to. It's just we have to not let ourselves go, because this is real. People are dying in higher number than you
Correct.
think.
In other words, the virus is not really going down per se. It's not disappearing overnight or stuff like that. You know, the level may be decreasing, but you have all those hot spots that are flaring up. And the experience we have with the virus is already there. We've seen all the countries who have been successful in mitigating this to social distancing. Once they start reopening, there are flare-ups. So we have to be prepared for this. Okay. Uh, you know, any last word, Pastor?
Well, trust in the Lord always.
Okay.
Trust
Okay.
in the Lord and do not
Okay.
lay down our own understanding. And we also have to make the balance. You know what? I always say that I believe in the power of prayer. Prayer is awesome. Prayer is tremendous. But don't forget to seek help from professional, from physician,
Okay.
from a therapist. And I say people like, me, I love the church. I love God. And I do believe that that's not gonna cause a problem if you see Dr. Mwansi and try to ask him for help. You know what? If you try to seek help from different professional to help you out to cope with this COVID-19, is very important.
Absolutely. I think we have 1 minute left. Let me tell you, we're going to take some questions, see if they have any question in the audience that we can take. but definitely all those things are important. As I said in my introductions, we the virus really can be controlled, okay, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of access to the best of us. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if we improve our immune system, we may certainly get infected, but we're not going to die because our immune system provided defense. So we have to work on that. Okay, um, the the lockdown has proven to be very effective. I understand this is a major problem because being locked down, if you're not creative, man, you can go crazy. But this is the first time you have a chance to actually stay home and connect with your family. For me, listen, I am busier now than before because I'm doing all the talk and then I'm waiting. Like Emmanuel, I said, I love to learn new things. I love to read. I
Mm-hmm.
love to this. I'm going to put myself out there to help to for people to understand the information. And most pandemic do last a little long time. They have waves and peaks and valley, but we have to be mindful that we have to protect ourselves. When you wear a face mask, you wear it not only for yourself, you wear it for everybody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as you can, keep some self distancing because we're still learning how the stuff is transmitted. And the fact that over 30% of people have no symptoms at all, just going out there spread the stuff, that's what makes this virus very dangerous. But we can beat it. All right, guys, stand by a little bit to see if I have some questions that may have come for you. When you should see. Have you had any questions, Jean-René, that we can get on Skype? Yeah, there's plenty of comments. So we're gonna have to, unless a question come in, we're gonna have to conclude. Once again, I'd like to really thank everyone who's joining on us online to participate with this forum. And I have great appreciation for my speakers who come and share their personal stories and their perspective with us on this pandemic, and to actually, share with us how we can mitigate this for in our personal life, how we can make life easier for us. You guys, I really appreciate you, and when I see young folks like this, trying to take charge and go out there, I am really optimistic about the future of the community. Okay. And Guy, thank you very much. And I am honored to have this conversation with you, and I'm looking forward for further program with you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah. Well, essentially, he said there are 12 deaths in Guyana and approximately 160 cases that have been positive. About 1,500 folks have been tested. The airport will not be fully reopened until January 2021. That's a drastic measures. You obviously you have to control your border initially. That's true. Okay, but unfortunately, if your country depends on tourism, that's gonna be that's gonna affect a lot of people. But so far, we know that the mitigations that we have applied have worked. I mean, washing hands and don't put your hand in your face, and clean surfaces. Don't shake hands and hug and stuff like that. And or physical distancing, we call it physical distancing. You try to stay away. For now, it's about 6 feet. Okay, we are learning. Okay, it may not be enough. That's why we recommend folks to use masks. Okay, everybody should wear a mask. Period. I mean, I don't understand this. I mean, it's this is extraordinary time. This is not usual time. So we have to really be prepared for this. That's the only way we can survive, and we can conquer the virus until we get a vaccine come in or some magical medications come up. All right, but until then, with our behavior and our actions, that will determine our faith.
Mhm.
I think that's about it. So essentially, thank you guys again, and let me say, please be safe. Continue to do the good work you're doing, and hopefully we'll see
Okay.
you soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Anna. Thank you, Nickens.
Bye bye.